Welcome back, everyone. I am Winter, and this is another game for the SlayerS Tribute Cast Marathon. This time it's going to be Game 3 between SlayerS BoxeR and FnaticRain in the MLG Anaheim 2011 Winners Bracket Finals or Semifinals, one of those two, and you can find it on the MLG Pro site if you want to see the live cast. I will be casting the reimagining of the game. Okay, that sounded really stupid. But starting off in the bottom left-hand corner, it is the Emperor himself, the champion of Terran. It is SlayerS BoxeR. His opponent in the top right-hand corner, a Terran player as well on Team Fnatic. It's going to be Rain. Now, the game will be played out on Xel'Naga Caverns, which allows many different strategies in TVT. Mech is completely viable. There are a lot of situations where Mech is actually better because there are only so many counterattack paths. If you can cut off one of the counterattack paths in the middle, if you can secure the gold-based expansion after killing the rocks with your siege tanks, then suddenly it becomes very tough for the opponent if they're not going for Mech to attack into you. So it could easily become a half-map situation, but it looks like both players are going to start out aggressive, going for the gas geysers before the barracks. Yeah. And now, BoxeR are going to be getting his barracks, so it looks like a little bit before Rain. Rain may be sneaking in another SCV on top of it. No, just completely identical builds now. We could have quite the slugfest if the Banshees try to take each other out, assuming they both go for Banshees. But knowing BoxeR, he's definitely going to want to throw some Hellions in the composition. Now, really, we want to look from here at what they're doing. If they're getting a second gas, if they're looking to move out with their Marines, if they're going to go for Reactor Hellion, and smartly Rain checking the Tasteless Secret Hallway here. I believe this is one of these is the Tasteless Secret Hallway, where you can put a barracks, maybe make a tech lab, go for Proxy Marauder, which would, of course, if you're not prepared for it, be a build over loss against a gas first. So. Looks like the factory coming down for BoxeR just a couple seconds ahead as the orbital commands from both players at identical timings. The Marine will not be out in time to deny Rain's scouting SCV, and BoxeR has yet to send one out. So he's just saying, alright, I'm going for the most aggressive build possible. Even if you see it, I want to have that little extra bit of minerals in order to deal with it. And Rain just going to take a few minerals home with him, but that might cost this SCV its life right now. BoxeR attempting, oh, he missed a stutter step, so it looks like the SCV will just barely get away. And BoxeR, a little bit in the dark as to what his opponent's doing right now, but is going to have that element of, he's going to have that little bit extra mining time to pump out maybe another Hellion quick or anything like that. So we'll have to see. It looks like he hasn't chosen to make a reactor, so this is going to be straight up Banshees. Wait, what? What are you doing, BoxeR? Getting a little bit crazy here. That's a tech lab. One factory Blue Flame Hellion? Rain just going for the straight up Banshee play. It looks like he made the tech lab, but that's only to switch to the starport. But BoxeR, okay, looks like he's going to be going for the Blue Flame off a single base right now. And he's going to have the Marines to back it up. He's going to have about 7 or 8 Marines by the time Blue Flame finishes to complement his 2 to 3 Hellions. And I don't actually know how this is going to play out against a straight-up Banshee build. The question is, does Rain want to go for Cloak? He's just now getting that second gas geyser, so he will not have enough money for Cloak right off the bat. It's just going to be one uncloaked Banshee, which will be just fine in dealing with this relatively low Marine count because he doesn't have a reactor on the barracks. As I say that, he now has a reactor on the barracks. I believe as soon as he's timing it out, so when the Blue Flame finishes, the reactor will finish. He can switch these out and start to upgrade his Marines as well. So it looks like BoxeR probably going to go into a Marine-based composition, so either Bio or Marine Tank. The first Hellion actually going to be taking a lot of shots from Rain's Hellions right now. And upon seeing those Hellions, this could either be a Reactor Hellion build, or it could be Banshees, and BoxeR has to prepare for both as he makes his starport. Now we'll see if he goes for a dropship or a Viking first. I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, and there it is. BoxeR playing it very safe, knowing that the Banshee is quite the threat, and getting the Viking first to be able to shut it down. This Banshee will do 0 damage. If BoxeR engages it correctly, he should be able to kill it with the Viking before it gets back to base. Vikings very slightly quicker than Banshees, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but it's very tough for Banshees to get away from Vikings once they've already committed to going for a base. So a Viking going to come out, I would imagine that probably a dropship behind it, because there's no reason to have 2 Vikings where one will do. Is he going to deny the Banshee and go for Banshees with Cloak of his own? He has 280 gas right now. It looks like he moved out to deal with a Hellion on the map while a Banshee comes in, and looking at the units lost, we see that nothing has been lost for either player, so nothing was killed, but here comes the command center. The Banshee will go right overhead, should be able to deny it building for the time being as the Banshee tries to stutter. Yeah, there you go, Rain. But where's the Viking? Viking coming back. It was in the top left-hand corner. It's coming in as his Banshee is actually going to get a few kills before he will probably suicide it in. There's no way he's escaping from this Viking at this point. Just targeting down SCV. Smartly done by Rain, making sure he can have an economic lead right now. One more SCV. No, not going to fall. And we see only 5 workers killed, including the one making the command center. So that's actually delaying BoxeR by a pretty significant margin as Rain is continuing to make a... command center in his main. And Rain already has this Raven ready to go, ready to deal with any Cloak Banshees BoxeR might want to be dealing with, but actually BoxeR not going for the Cloak, instead going for a Raven of his own. So both players going to have a Raven on the field to be able to deal with the Vikings, to be able to do auto-turn harassment, and be able to see those Cloak Banshees. So looks like it's just going to be mech versus mech. Oh, another factory on the way. So yes, mech on both sides right now. BoxeR going to be getting his next factory, while Rain is doing the same, has a reactor that he's probably going to switch off onto the factory in order to increase this count of those Blue Flame Hellions right now. So yeah, BoxeR going up to 3 factories. He's going to have one with a tech lab. Probably going to start pumping out siege tanks from there, because no armory quite yet is going to allow him to make Thors. It's just going to be straight up siege tank Hellion with Rain actually making the choice to go for the air superiority right now, as BoxeR already has that reactor starport, able to pump out 2 Vikings at a time with that Raven support. Now, since both players have a Raven, it evens out. It just depends on where they choose, where they're forced to place their auto turrets. By that I mean point defense drones. If they're forced to place a point defense drone just to escape losing all their Vikings, then suddenly the player who maintains their energy has the advantage. But if you're using a point defense drone offensively and they don't have one ready, then suddenly you could be in a tough position, because that allows the siege tanks to move underneath. Because of course siege tanks do not have as much vision as air units do. If you can move those Vikings up, that's where the siege tank leapfrog really comes in. If you have the Viking air superiority, you can potentially have more vision than your opponent, and they're forced to use scans as opposed to air units, because the Vikings will gun everything out of the sky if suddenly you get a lead on those. But both players moving around with their Hellions. There's 10 Hellions on the field for BoxeR, with 9 more for Rain, and reactored Hellion. Looks like a reactored factory. Nope. Actually, just 2 Tech Lab factories right now for Rain, pumping out siege tanks after getting that Hellion count up into double digits, while BoxeR really focusing a little bit more on the Hellions, getting them out, and really needs to move his siege tanks away from his rally point right now. But we'll see what he chooses to make after that point. Both players just kind of macroing up, not really comfortable to take a 3rd command center, leaving their Ravens back towards their main. Well, at this point, BoxeR just kind of moving his around with the Vikings. Ideally, you'd have it on a different control group, but you can't have everything right now. The scan will go down. Let's see what Rain sees. He sees that they're Hellions. He's just scouted out there's a pretty high count. He knows there's a Raven on the field now. He knows siege tanks are in production. This pretty much confirms BoxeR is going mech. So this confirms that Rain wants to go down this path. He's actually making Marines, an interesting choice. Maybe to kind of attempt to counteract the increased Viking count of BoxeR. Hellions moving up to take the watchtowers, and Rain looking to posture for a position right now. Does he have siege mode on this tank? Indeed he does not. But in low numbers. Oh, wow. Actually, we have an engagement coming in, and here come the Hellions to try to deal with BoxeR's Hellions. BoxeR does not have siege mode to deny these Hellions right now. BoxeR actually has a supply disadvantage and a Viking disadvantage. Why is he using an auto turret? He needs to use a point defense drone right now. He's actually using auto turrets to try to gun them down. But no, instead, the Viking's going to be... Well, I guess since he didn't have Vikings of his own, there's no point in using an auto turret at that point. So actually a smart move by BoxeR there. And he will be able to hold the line for the time being, because neither player has siege mode to really put up a position right now. BoxeR just now starting his siege mode, a little bit behind his opponent, but in the grand scheme of things, it really more counts the siege tank count than when siege mode comes out, as long as it's in a comparable time. Now BoxeR really trying to up his count of siege tanks. We're looking at 4 to 4 with BoxeR 2 on the way to Rain's only 1. Rain being the first to make that dive, go for the 3rd command center, and BoxeR looks like it's time for him to move out. He's got a pretty strong army supply, 56 to 61, but Rain has the watchtower. He knows the second this army is moving out, so it could be tough for him to sneak by Rain's army without taking a lot of shots that he does not want to take. And now Rain, his siege mode not quite finished up yet. BoxeR's is finished. And BoxeR looks like he wants to move up. There's no siege mode yet. And now, like I said, everything is taken back as the siege mode. Gonna allow him to gain a lot of position, killing a lot of Hellions here is BoxeR. Looks like about 4 or 5 of that first engagement. Suddenly BoxeR taking a supply lead. The Hellions are gonna press the issue because, of course, they are faster than siege tanks right now. And we're looking at 6 siege tanks to 5, and BoxeR moving his way forward. He landed the Vikings to make sure they didn't fall to the superior Viking count of Rain in the air. The Vikings landed for Rain as well. The scan coming down. Where's the scan? Rain trying to see where this army is, but Rain getting his siege tank sieged up. His siege tank mode has finished, and he's going to be able to drive BoxeR back for the time being right now. Oh, BoxeR taking that left-hand side watchtower. He still doesn't have a third base in production while Rain is finishing his up. Let's look at the worker count. We still see 53 to 55. That's not too huge of an issue for either player. One Viking making its way into the sky, but Rain trying to have those Vikings to buffer. Rain getting a money scan on the army. He knows exactly what he can do. I wouldn't be surprised if he unsieges and tries to move up right now. Instead, it looks like the Viking's going to fly over the army, make sure nothing in the sky will live. And is the Raven still on the field? It looks like BoxeR did lose his Raven, so that's a pretty huge loss in the Viking versus Viking fight. But BoxeR has completely discontinued Viking production. As I say that, he's going to lose most of the... Oh, nice target fire there by BoxeR right now. Looks like BoxeR going to come out a little bit ahead in the Viking engagement. As I say this, a point defense drone going to land for Rain, allow him to win this engagement in the sky in this position, but BoxeR quick on the defense, gonna land his Vikings to make sure they don't get taken out by the Viking, protected by that point defense drone. And Banshee production has started for Rain. He realizes he has the Viking lead, he has the point defense drone. He really wants to start really taking advantage of that air superiority, and even more than having that superior siege tank count. But where's BoxeR going right now? Here comes some more siege tanks to BoxeR, and does Rain have the position? He's supply blocked. He just finished it. He just finished his command center, but he's supply blocked. He's not making anything else, but he lost a lot of army right now. In dealing with that, BoxeR moving around. His army supply is superior, 86 to 68. As he moves around the map, Rain trying to deal with this. BoxeR kind of getting himself in a tough position. He's going to need to move down the rocks, and this will give Rain the time he needs to move around the back right now and siege up in order to deal with this right now. And Rain, he should be in position. Well, are there any upgrades on either of the players' siege tanks? No upgrades quite yet. Rain has the air superiority, so he will be able to drive this back with the superior siege tank range. But BoxeR just forcing his army back. Now finish up his third command center, and he's already taken down the rocks to the third, so that's going to allow him to mine from the third, despite the fact that he didn't have a third command center for a longer time than Rain did. But right now, BoxeR's still in the supply lead. He's still continuing to make more of an army than Rain is able to deal with. And here comes some more Vikings for BoxeR. A point defense drone will allow these Vikings to kind of even up the air war right now, and BoxeR needs to really land those Vikings in order to deal with it. But here comes the engagement. Rain sieging up first, but with a very inferior number of siege tanks. Oh, BoxeR has a siege tank concave sieging up with so many tanks right now, and BoxeR taking the tank lead in a very huge way, 9 to 5 right now. Using those Hellions to buffer was absolutely critical for BoxeR, allowing him to maintain that siege tank lead despite the fact he's sieged up second right now. And he's going to need to start making some auto turrets. This one Banshee is such a huge thorn in BoxeR's side. He's making a couple of Thors right now. The SCVs coming out to defend it. They will not be enough to defend one siege tank here. And giving the scan on the siege tanks on the left-hand side. BoxeR's going to move on the right-hand side, knowing he was scanned. Rain will fall back. This Banshee still going to work. The repair, allowing the siege tank to live through it, but costing him a lot of money for BoxeR. Now finally taking out the rocks is Rain. BoxeR still in a supply lead. We're looking at 66 army supply to 58, and he's got the worker supply lead as well, 74 to 65 right now. And wow, this Banshee just being very annoying. Hasn't actually killed anything quite yet. He continues to change targets in order to force the SCVs to repair other things. Looks like he might get another tank as well, as another Banshee joins in on this. And Rain going to try to press his air advantage as well as he can. But here comes the Thors, gunning down the Raven right there. That's pretty huge. He has no more point defense drones to deal with that Thor or the Viking shots as well. That might spur BoxeR to go back for the Viking lead right now. But Rain taking a pretty dangerous position right now. He still has the air advantage. He's going to try to move in. On this side, the siege tanks are sieging up. They are not quite in range to deal with the refineries of BoxeR right now, but he doesn't even care. He's coming on the left-hand side as Rain is sieged up, and Rain only has a couple sieged up to deal with this. He's going to be forced to lift his command center. BoxeR making a bold move, moving in and forcing the command center lift, while all the siege tanks of Rain not in a position where they can really engage BoxeR right now. BoxeR at a very comfortable supply lead, 160 to 131. And he's continuing to go to work, and the Banshee will be driven back by the Thor, a missile turret as well, going to maintain the siege tank line. Now BoxeR has stalled out Rain's push while continuing to be aggressive with his own. Rain trying to move back with his siege tank. We're looking at 10 siege tanks to 10 siege tanks. BoxeR has +1 though on those siege tanks. That's absolutely huge. Usually it takes 4 siege tank thoughts for 0-0 siege tank to engage. No armor upgraded siege tanks, but in this case it only takes 3. BoxeR moving up into a very convincing position right now. Here come the Hellions, and the Hellions working away, but there's absolutely no siege tanks of Rain. 170 supply to 132. The SCV is now being pulled. The Hellions in the back doing so much damage, and we see BoxeR moving in with his siege tanks. The siege tank count now dropping for Rain. It's 11 to 10. BoxeR in such a great position right now. What is Rain doing back here? There's absolutely nothing he can do. He's going to be forced to really move his siege tanks up. This is not going to be cost efficient for Rain at all, and he's trying to move back. The Hellions have been driven back right now. And Rain just looking in a very tough position. BoxeR just taking... Oh, at the same time, BoxeR moving through the siege tanks on the right-hand side, completely obliterating the very bare-bones siege tank line that Rain had left there to deal with it. And Rain losing ground on all fronts right now. He's trying to move in while the tanks are on siege, but BoxeR's superior upgrades might be enough to deal with it. A single Banshee moving in. Rain losing a lot of damage right now. And the Vikings trying to land to do damage on the siege tanks, but this Thor doing so much at the same time. Oh my god, the Thor ripping through upside everything. Rain will drop under 100 supply. Hellions moving up into the natural at the same time. Here come the Hellions doing so much damage on the SCVs. Rain is down to 46 SCVs right now as the push at the front gets cleaned up by SCVs of BoxeR. He can afford to. Another factory will fall. He needs these siege tanks right now, but desperately trying to get back to mining his Rain because he barely has anything at the gold base. And the one Hellion just doing so much for BoxeR right now. He's killed 24 workers this game while Rain has killed more, but it doesn't matter. He does so many workers. Here come the SCVs. Here come the workers. Here come the siege tanks. And that's not going to be enough. GG from Rain. BoxeR will take it.